Good morning. Welcome to today's class. My name is John Witt, and this is my son Noah Witt, and we'll be teaching a base level Hatha 1 class. So if you're new to the class, welcome. You don't have to do everything.
And we're starting on the, remember,
we're going to start standing today. So at some point I'll use the wall at the end of the class, but you could use it the whole class. I'm a big proponent of adapting the practice when things don't work. Makes perfect sense. Like if you're really struggling with something, you can try to figure it out, but know that there's many different ways to do any type of technique. So this class, I hope it's working. I hope it's really helping build group practice, but I do offer an easier class, a more meditative class in the evenings on Wednesdays, and that's from 6:30 to 7:30 on Zoom. So if you'd like to register for that class, or you know someone that needs something more gentle, they can register for that class on my website. It's johnwittyoga.com. We designed, my wife has designed some fantastic athletic masks to protect you from any type of virus, to prevent a virus. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can get that at my website. And you can learn more about me and what I'm offering online. I do have one other class, if you did not know, and that's on Sundays, and that's another base level class, and that's from 10 to 11 on Zoom. Again, you can register on my website. All these classes are on my YouTube channel, so you can subscribe, you can like, you can share, and that really helps me offering yoga to people who cannot afford it. All my classes are donation. You can donate on Venmo or PayPal, and that's John Witt Yoga. That's my username. All right, so in starting and standing, you could have your feet hip width apart, you could have your feet wider apart. I'm just gonna be moving the weight into the outsides of my feet and the insides of my feet. So I'm just kind of rolling in and out. Make it really small if you had something going on in your ankle or something going on in your knee. If you have a tendency to roll in more, be careful with rolling in, because you don't want to create more tension or inflammation into the knee. And then just bring it back to center and just bring the weight forward into the front of the toes and back into the heels. So if you have a hard time moving in one direction more than the other, it'll tell you that you probably lean a certain way. So I'm just going to lift my left heel off the floor. So just lifting my left heel up, and then I'm going to lower my left heel and raise my right heel. And then I'm going to lower that heel. So these are just ankle pulses. I'm just going to bend the knees comfortably and then straighten the legs out. And then bending the knees. Good to do in front of a mirror, and you can see how the knees track. See which heel lifts up more, and that'll tell you why you might be having some more trouble with one knee. If the better the ankle moves, the better the knee will bend. And you really need this for going up and down stairs. The knee will travel past the toes, and then when it travels past the toes, it's not necessarily bad, but if you have something pre-existing, it can hurt the knees. So I'm going to straighten the legs out, and I'm just going to have my hands on my hips, and I'm just going to be moving my hips in a circular motion. It doesn't have to be really big, it could be really small, but in getting the hips to move, it'll help with the spine. I say this from time to time when we're doing something like this. The beauty is you're in the comfort of your home. No one will see you. You do it in a park or a gym. It's partially why I don't necessarily like going to gyms. Not that I don't agree with it. I love going to a gym, but if you don't do something within, what the normal is, it kind of draws a lot of attention. So sometimes I'll just stretch rather than doing yoga, because it's less. People don't necessarily look at me as much, right? So I'm going to come back into the middle. When I come back in the middle, I'm going to come up onto my toes. I'm going to lift the heels off the floor, and then I'm going to lower the heels. I'm going to lift up, and then I'm going to lower, and then I'm going to lift up again. So I'm going to take my feet a little bit wider than my shoulders. I'm going to turn my feet out, and I'm going to create a horse stance position. So you could have your knees, your legs wider if you have good flexibility. If you don't have a lot of flexibility and you have problems with the knees, a wall sits really, really great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sit a little bit lower than I am, and then I'm going to bring it up. So not the higher position is actually going to help build up more strength. To sit lower, it's going to add more flexibility, and you know we need both as life moves on. And then come back to straight up, and then when you come back up to straight legs, you can just bring the feet back in together, so just a neutral stance. So take the arms up overhead and hook the thumbs and just bend the knees. So as you bend the knees and you extend up through the arms, my weight's in the heels of my feet, less than the knees. And the reason I'm doing this is just so that you can see the difference between the horse stance and a modified chair pose. Both are good, but one might actually work better for you. And then straighten out through the legs and then take the arms down. So I'm gonna take the feet out wide again. I'm just gonna swing the arms a bit. So getting the arms to move, you know, if you've been sitting a lot, that's why I've been doing more motion, is really to get people to move a little bit more. If you've been sitting, you know, working at home, these movements are good. It's a good place to start. You might not be able to take your arms higher than your shoulder. It's good. It's okay. And then over time, the range of motion will increase. I'm just gonna come back into the middle. I'm gonna have my left leg forward. So like throwing a ball, your left foot is forward when you throw with your right hand. So I'm gonna circle back with my right arm. So I'm just getting the arm to move. And then I'm gonna circle it forward. My hand's on my rib cage, could be on your shoulder, just to keep it out of the way. And then just one more. And then I'm gonna switch over to the other side. So I'm just gonna take the left arm back in space. Think of a big circular motion. It's okay to turn the ribs a little bit as you do this, especially if you have you know, tightness or even pain in the shoulder. You know, over time the range will increase and you'll be able to do it more, right? And then you can take it back into the middle. So just have the feet, you know, hip width apart, or just and just turn the head over the right side, turn the head over the left, turn it back to the right, turn it back to the left, and then bring it back to center. And then just let the head move down to one side and back to the other. So a half circle is good, a full circle is good. If you're a person that does this a lot, you might need less. If you're a person that does not do this, you probably need more. You know, it just really depends on the person. But again, catch yourself looking at your phone like this. It's better to have it higher, right? So that the head is in a better position. So just take the head to whichever side you need it more. For me, if you look at me, my left side is higher than my right. So when my head is to my left, it's helping to stretch that out, and then it helps to bring that shoulder down. Just so that it's even, I'm gonna take the head up and then bring it to the left. And it's still something that you probably need. It's just going to one side, you probably need it less. You don't necessarily need it as much. And then I'm gonna come back into the middle. So I'm gonna take the feet out wide again and do a horse stance. I'm gonna turn the feet out, I'm gonna bend the knees. And I use horse stance personally. I use it for getting people to build a better practice. The reason I like it is that you have to rely on strengthening your legs, and not that I don't favor Warrior 1 or Warrior 2, but it's very easy to rely more on your flexibility. Here, people don't necessarily have the flexibility, so you have to really hold yourself. So I'm gonna take the arms out wide, I'm gonna turn my thumbs up, and I'm gonna rotate the thumbs back, just so that you have a better visual. And then I'm gonna rotate the thumbs forward, and I'm gonna rotate them down. Right? And let's say your legs cramp up. You just come out, you know? You're in a group class, it's like, oh, I don't wanna come out. It's, you know, it's good to move. You know, static position has its place, especially if you don't have a lot of discipline. It's good to hold things long in that regard, and you'll build a better discipline. So, you know, you have better discipline for practice, but for food and, you know, just in life. I'm gonna rotate the thumbs back one last time. I'm gonna sit maybe a little bit lower, and I'm gonna bring myself back up. Turn the left foot in, have the right foot turned out, take the arms out wide, and then reach out to the right. You could grab the right shin, your leg in any way, could be a block. I'm gonna take the left arm up, and then I'm just gonna take the left arm back behind me. So this is internal rotation. most likely it's easier on the left side than the right. So I can look up towards the ceiling. I could lean back into my arm. I may want to go higher up on the leg just to kind of see if that's better. So if you're in a good position, obviously you can stay, but it's so good to kind of see where you're at and have some perspective of where you should be, because I can't see you or can't say what actually would be better for you unless I saw you. So you could turn your ribs to the left. I'm going to take the left arm up. I'm going to bring myself back up. I'm going to turn the right foot in and turn the left foot out. And with the left foot turned out, I'm going to reach out to the left. I'm going to grab the left shin. I'm going to take the right arm up to the ceiling. So the right arm is high and left hand is low. You could keep it up. You could take it behind you. So I'm using my feet, right, to leverage my upper body. Everybody's going to feel a little bit differently. So maybe you feel it more in your hamstring. Some people may feel it more in their hips. It's where I feel it more in my abdomen. But it varies, not necessarily good or bad. It's what's happening, right? So you could look to the floor. You could certainly be up higher, right? Like I said, it's not bad to move. And when you see a photo of someone, that's 1 second. It's not necessarily how they're holding the pose the whole time, right? You could take the right arm up to the ceiling. You could bring yourself back up. You can turn the left foot in, and you can step the feet back together. So repeat a horse stance if you want it. I'm just going to use the wall just to give you a different take. So I'm going to have my back up against the wall. And with my back up against the wall, I'm going to be about 2.5 feet away from the wall with my feet. And then I'm going to bend the knees. And then if you're more common to 90-degree angle positions, it's probably better not to go that low. And then as I'm here, I'm pulling my shoulders back. I'm trying to get the weight in the heels. So it's a great position to really organize your body. So whatever's at the wall and it's not touching the wall is what I really want to get back into the wall. So if you struggle with this, maybe you're not pushing so far back the whole time. But this is a really basic way. Those of you that have done this before and you're like, well, it's kind of a done deal. A good alternative, and you don't have to do this, is I'm going to lift my heels up off the floor. So it's more calf work rather than quads. So say you wanted to hold this for like 2-3 minutes. Varying the way, I think, is better rather than just gutting it out and holding it that long, right? So I'm going to take 3 more breaths. Maybe you're already up, maybe you're not in this as much. And then I'm going to lower the heels and I'm going to bring myself back up. And then I'm just going to step back into the wall with my feet. My feet aren't fully into the wall here. I'm going to take my hands on the side of the head and I'm going to pull the elbows back to the wall and my head is back. So I'm going to bring the elbows in. I'm going to pull them back. I'm going to bring them together. I'm going to pull them back. The back position is probably going to be more difficult for you. The forward position helps stretch out the shoulder to some range. It's not a whole lot, but if your shoulder's already round forward, it's going to be easy to bring them together, right? Because they're already forward. So just pull them back, keep them back for 3 breaths. Notice again the weight in your feet. Notice when you're looking forward if you are using the wall. Do you see more of the room easier than the other? Could be that one eye is stronger, but often it's our head's crooked. Our torso is crooked, and that's why we're seeing the world from really only one eye. And then you can bring the arms down. As you bring the arms down, I'm going to step forward away from the wall. I'm just going to do a little bit of twisting here. So just twist to the wall, twist and turn. Now when I twist, I could certainly be a little bit more forgiving in my feet. So my left heel is lifting. So if you have problematic knees, this is why I'm doing it. So I'm going to move a little bit further from the wall. I'm going to twist and I'm going to reach for the wall with my right hand. And then I'm going to turn forward and I'm going to reach with my left hand. And then I'm going to come back into the middle. Now if you're close to the wall, it could be done with a bent elbow. It's less extension, it's less twisting if the elbow is bent. but you may want to move closer if you're doing it like that, right? Now I'm going to turn and I'm going to twist to the left, and then, you know, twisting is so valuable because it'll help with your overall posture and the way that things move. So I'm going to come back and just bringing the arm down. I'm going to go back into the middle of the room. Actually, I'm going to come to the top of the mat, move blocks forward or a chair forward. So if I'm moving my props forward, it's here. I could use a stool or a chair, right? Take the arms up into an overhead position and fold forward into a forward fold. So fold all the way forward into a forward bend, and then step the left foot back into a lunge, and with the left foot back into a lunge, I'm going to take the right arm up to the ceiling. I'm going to make that thumb gesture, right? I'm going to turn the thumb back. That's just so that you can see it better, and then rotating it forward, and then rotating it back. Right, then bring the right hand down and step the left foot forward. So the left foot is forward, then step the right foot back into a lunge. Make it nice and long and wide for yourself. Keep your hands low if you're not twisting. Take the left arm up to the ceiling. Make, you know, the thumb, if that helps you. Rotate the thumb back, external rotation. Rotate the thumb forward and in. Rotate it back in space. Now, if I think that my hand is lifting higher, I'm going to get more of a rotation in the shoulder. Rotate it in and rotate it back. So it's not necessarily should I rotate more, create more width between the shoulders and the arm. Bring the left hand down and then step the right foot forward. So with the right foot forward, I'm going to step the left foot back into a long runner's lunge. I'm going to bring my back knee down the floor. So with my back knee being down, I'm going to have this block underneath my thigh, so my knee isn't touching the floor at all. This is a common, with people that have problematic knees. It's not bad to get like a double mat or get pads for your knees or even wear knee pads. That is all good. But say you don't have it and you got a block, you put the block underneath your thigh. I'm going to take the hands over to the left side and you can look over the left shoulder. So whatever helps you in practice, I fully support. So I believe a lot in a lot of different practices. So lift the head, lift the chest, then take the hands back into the middle and just try to move the weight around in the hips. Do you need more leverage in your left hip or do you need more leverage in your right foot? You probably need both, but you'll notice that you lean to a side that's actually easier for you, right? So I'm going to keep, if I'm comfortable with the block there, I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to keep my right hand on the right inside of my right foot. I may need a block. I'm going to take the left arm up to the ceiling. So this is a really good way to open up the chest and the upper body. Like I believe in the wall, but you might have wall space. You might need more lunging. Some reasons why I'm using this. So I'm turning my thumb back again. Think that the knuckles are touching the ceiling. Bring the left hand down. With the left hand down, I'm going to sit the hips back about 6 to 8 inches back. Point through the front foot. Flex it. Point it. And flex it. Now again, if I really want to get stronger in forward bending, not that this is the only way, but I want to use strength to do it. I don't want to just flop over, right? So I want to use an extension through the torso so that the back leg is getting more straight, and it'll help with a number of areas of practice. So go back into a low lunge, and in a low lunge, I'm going to come up and actually take the back knee off the floor. I can stay in a low lunge. I'm going to try to come forward into my right foot. Now I'm going to balance on my right foot. I could bring the left foot in a little bit. I could take it up. You could use a chair. Right? This is just an extension of what we just did. So if I really want more leverage in my hamstrings, get the hands lower. So you try it and you're like, I can't do that. You just stay here. Over time, you'll be able to get lower. It's not like critical. It's just a nice thing to add eventually. Right, bring yourself back up if you can into a warrior 3. Now in warrior 3, I can bend the knee a little bit. Right, I'm going to come up into a warrior 1. So elevate the arms, elevate the chest. Take the arms forward, and if you can, wrap the left arm underneath the right arm. So grab the shoulders And then as you grab the shoulders, just straighten the right leg out. So I'm doing this for a number of reasons. One, to make it easier, but each time I bend the knee, you'll notice that the leg has to work. And if you held it statically, you might just get rigid or possibly just use your flexibility. So I'm not saying that you can't stay static. You obviously can. But let's say you need to build up better strength in your legs. One, for the benefit of your knees. This is why I'm doing it. Take the arms forward, take them up overhead. Drive down through the tailbone, lift through the pubic bone, and then bring the hands down into the blocks and step the left foot all the way forward. So separate your feet a little bit wider than the shoulders. Grab the blocks or a wall or a weight. Grab anything that can help you sit lower. And if you have an easy time sitting low, don't sit all the way down, right? It's good that you can do that, but you want to also keep the strength in being able to hold the pose. You know, and I've said this before, if I'm holding a long squat, I'm certainly sitting low, you know, passive, right? But from time to time, it's good to rise up. So come back up into a standing forward bend. Again, if you struggle with forward bending, this is a great position. Elbows above knees and the back is straight. And then bring the hands to floor or block and then step the right foot back. And then with the right foot back, keep the back knee off the floor the whole time if you need it. Or place a block underneath your thigh just above the right knee. And like I said, then the knee isn't being squished into the floor. And it's just really good leverage for the right hip. So this is similar to like what you'd feel like if you ever start to do the front splits, which is a great pose. You can take the hands over to the right side. You can look over the right shoulder. So good for the neck. Just bring the head down a little bit or all the way down and then take the head back up. So lift the head, lift the chest. Take the hands to the inside. Keep the shoulder and the knee together on the left side and take the right arm up to the ceiling. So again, I'm having this thumb gesture. I'm going to rotate my thumb back behind me and I'm trying to get more of a lift. And by lifting the arm more, I'm going to expose more of my abdomen and my hip. I'm going to rotate it in and then I'm going to rotate it back. So not that it's bad to move the arm back more, but just kind of again see what your habits are, whether they're good or bad. Bring the right hand down, and the right hand down, I'm going to sit back with my hips, and like I said, I'm going to use the block if I need it. It's good to sit upright. You know, that's why I say splits might actually be healthier than a standing forward bend or a seated forward bend, because your back isn't as compromised. You know, as you come forward, it does. But if you're upright, it's all hamstring, it's all hips, and it's very good for the spine. Not that coming forward like I am is bad, it's just you have a history of back pain, it's probably going to be the worst thing for you. And even if you're, say I've been doing yoga for 20 years, it might be something that you want to start eliminating, you know? Just because you did it for as long as you have doesn't mean that you should continue to do it, especially in volume. So come back into a low lunge, take the back knee off the floor, use your blocks of course. So if I'm transitioning into Warrior 3, I may want to move the foot in a little bit closer and then being able to take it up. This doesn't hurt your knee or irritate your knee. It's an incredible, valuable thing to use because the instability is really what's happening when you walk, run, jump, right? All these things happen. The knee's going to divert. It's never going to be in the perfect place. So have your hands on your blocks or the floor and take your hands up and down off the floor however many times you want to or need to. Any point, step the right foot forward. You could rest and then join us as you see, you're ready. I'm going to step the right foot back into a Warrior 1. I'm going to take the arms up overhead. As I take the arms up, I'm rooting down through the tailbone. I'm lifting through the pubis. I'm pulling the abdomen and the ribs in. not incredibly hard, but enough that I can actually feel my body adjusting itself in space. So just straighten the left leg out and then go back to bending the left knee. So again, as you enter the pose, you'll be like, oh, my legs are working, my legs are working. I still feel my legs working here, but it's a little bit more obvious when I straighten and then I transition and I go into it, and it's just as if you were, doing repetitions of single leg squats or double leg squats, at your home or gym, right? Take the arms forward, bring the right arm underneath the left arm, hold the shoulders, get the hands together if that's good for you. Good to grab the shoulders, it's a great place to be. Then just straighten the left leg out, and then go back to straightening the left leg out. So if you don't know which leg is stronger, time yourself in doing each side. And the side that's weak, most likely you need more work on it, right? Push through the feet, lift through the pubis, right? Bring the hands down, and then step the right foot forward. And with the right foot forward, you're in a forward fold. So just take a couple deep breaths, pull on your feet if you need it, you want it, right? Come into an all four position, and then from all fours, you're gonna turn your hands in if you can, and then slightly turn them back a little bit more. So this will stretch out your forearm. So I'm gonna do a circular motion, and how many do you need is really, think of any number, there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. So you might just need like a few rotations or one, right? And then the same thing might be like, wow, I really do need more, but I would do more like later in the day. Like for people, you could consider it like snacking, like practice snacking, or do it before every meal. I always promote that to people. Practice before every meal a little bit, and practice what you need the most. Right? Come back into the middle, and when you come back into the middle, turn the hands forward, push through the hands, round the spine, so cat stretch. Look forward, look up, back bend. Exhale, round your back, push through your hands, your fingers, use your fingertips. Back bend, lift the chin, lift the chest. Exhale, round the spine, round your back, and then come back to neutral. Now take the hands slightly more forward than the shoulders, and just let your chest drop down, and then push through the hands. This is really, really helpful for push-ups, handstands, right? Lower the chest down, and then push through the hands, round your back. Now lift your knees up off the floor. As you get smaller and stronger through the front of the body, right, this becomes a little easier. I'm just moving the weight around a little bit just to see how I'm holding my weight. Take 3 deep breaths here. Push through the hands, round through the front of the body, and then take it back up into a down dog. Go all the way back up into a down dog, and then reach down through the heels of the feet. And again, the knees can always be bent, Legs don't have to be straight. It's good to work towards that. It's good to use. Not necessarily required. Swing forward and through into an up dog. Exhale back up into a down dog. Okay. And then come forward into a plank and come down on your elbows for plank on your forearms. So planking, side planking, right? You want your shoulders to be engaged. You obviously are doing this for your abdomen, but if you're not really pushing through the arms, kind of sets you up for possibly hurting your shoulder or re-injuring a weak shoulder, right? Lower the knees, lower the thighs, and then just as you're lowering the thighs, pull yourself forward. And what I'm going to do is, if I can, I'm going to take my feet a little bit off the floor, possibly over my knees, and I'm going to look over my left shoulder. I'm going to look over my right. You can look center, and then just get a little bit more strength again into the abdomen, the ribs, and you won't feel as flexible, but it's stretching you out more. It's good to let it go and express more, but I find a lot of times people aren't really using the right kind of tension or breathing. Your breathing makes such a big difference, especially if you're highly stressed. Bring your feet down, and then when you bring your feet down, bring your hands underneath your shoulders and curl up into a low cobra. Bring yourself forward and down. Inhale, lift through your back, push through your hands, maybe lift up more if you need it. Bring yourself down. Inhale, lift through the spine, lift through the chest. Bring yourself up more if you want it. It's not necessarily better. Bring yourself down, and then when you bring yourself down, take your left arm up to the left and squeeze your arm into the floor. Open up through the front of the shoulder. And then now as you're doing this, try to, I'm gonna set my right leg over top, but think that your arm's lifting away from the floor. Just initiate that action and you'll get more space into the shoulder. Won't be as obvious of a stretch, but it's a good thing to use. Roll back onto your abdomen, take your right arm out to the right, just so that I have enough space. I'm moving off my mat. I'm gonna look to my left side. I'm gonna squeeze my arm into the floor. Just a little bit, and you'll feel the front of the shoulder stretch out more. I could take the arm up, right? That's another way of doing it. But when I step over, I can still think that my arm, my right arm, whichever arm is out to the side, that's the arm that you're lifting. And then you get a good rotation in the shoulder. Right, take a couple deep breaths here. Then roll back onto your belly. As you roll back onto your belly, have your hands just underneath your shoulders. As you have your hands just underneath your shoulders, tuck through the toes, go straight up into a plank, and go back up into a down dog. As you go back up into a down dog, you can walk it out. I'm going to swing forward and through into an up dog if I need another back bend. And then pulling back up into a down dog. Right? And then I'm going to walk my hands back towards my feet and be in a standing forward bend. So I'm not going to be here long, but you could. I'm going to roll myself up to a standing position. As I roll all the way up, I'm upright. So, depends on how you stand, right? But you want your pelvis to be level and neutral. So my tailbone needs to move down, my pubic bone needs to move up, especially when I'm doing an inversion, just to protect my back, because I do quite a bit. That's something that I highly recommend, especially if you're doing that. But go back to just moving, rotating the feet out, and then rotating them in. Rotate them out, rotate them back in. So I'm not necessarily rotating, I'm just, it's called eversion and then inversion. So everting and then inverting. So I'm just kind of rolling in and out, but not turning in and out. I hope you can see that, I hope that's clear. But again, not to hurt your knees at all, right? But now, if not everybody's if you're really hard surface, you might not like this, but just lift the front of your foot, right foot, and then lift the front of your left foot. And you can see like one side is stronger, but also one is more flexible. So you could lift and lower. But I'm gonna walk this way. So I'm gonna lift the heels. I know it looks strange. It's much easier in shoes, but that's really good. And then lower. And then do the same thing, just lift, right? We could even do it, and I'm going to do it in a bent knee position. So I'm bending my knees, lifting my heel, or actually lifting, and then lowering, lifting, and bringing myself back up. So there's other ways you could do it, but what's really, really good in a safe space is walking backwards. So I'm walking backwards. It's crazy how well your body will sit upright. So if you're concerned about doing this, just stand still and keep the weight in the heels. And that'll bring you upright. But you could use a wall a little bit, right? It's good up a hill. Really good up a slight hill. And then as you get comfortable, you could walk forward and walk back as I am. But it's so good to keep the body upright, right? Take the arms overhead, hook the thumb, bend the knees. Just a shallow Utkatasana. And then bring yourself back up. and then bring your arms down. So I'm gonna do a little bit of balancing work. You could do anything, right, if you don't want to do this, but I'm gonna post myself on a block and do it on an angle just so that you can see. So if you're really concerned with balance, use a wall, but I'm gonna step up on the block, and then as I step on the block, I'm gonna bend my right knee, touch the floor, and lift up. So the good thing about a yoga block is that this is a partial bending of the knee. Most stairs are twice the size of a block, right? So when you get into walking on stairs and then bring yourself up, it's just like all or nothing for some people, and it's too much for the knee. So straighten back up. So I'm doing just 5 here, right? And then bring it down and bring it up. So you could bring it over to the other side, stand on the block, stand upright. What you should feel is outside of your hip working, your glute. So I'm gonna bend the knee, just lightly touch the floor with the right foot and come up. So if you wanna do like single squats, right? Not that they look flashy, they're good to do, but this is a small variation of that. But as we get older, calf muscle, Achilles tendon gets really tight, so it puts a lot of stress on the knee. Then bring yourself back up. One more time, lower, and then come back up, and then you can step off. So I would use these maybe every other day. Start with 5, and then build it up to 10. You're not having any problems with the knees. Building up to a really high, not a really high number, but 20 per side is a good benchmark. And then you'll really start to see how you'll walk better, you'll stand better, because it's really the glutes and the lack of harmony between the ankle, the knee, and the hip when we walk. And that's what's problematic. I'm not going to do this, but after I would do something like that, I'd stretch my calf muscles out, and collectively, especially if you can't squat, collectively start with doing 5 minutes per leg if you can. 3 to 5 minutes. I know that's a lot of time, but if you have knee problems, problematic knees, I recommend 3 to 5 minutes, and it doesn't have to be super high. Whatever's giving you a decent stretch, like this block might not be a good height. If I sat up against the wall and I did this, there's more leverage, and there's other ways to do it. So if you need other tips or something like that, you can always send me messages, right? So what I'm gonna do is stretch out my quadricep. So I'm gonna use a wall or not, right? But I'm gonna lift the leg up. And this is another thing that you could do collectively for, again, 3 to 10 minutes. Not this, but just stretching out the front of your leg. And when I say all this stuff to people, it's like, you'd have a long list of doing practice. So you're hopefully organized enough, and if you're not, you could schedule these things, and then you could split them up. And then when you split them up, then you're not doing yoga all the time, or you're not working on yourself all the time, but it'll give you a variety, and it'll give you what you really need. You can bend your right knee and take your right leg up. So we could come up with 5, maybe 10 things that you really ultimately need. And then after you go through like a month of that, then you can change it, and you'll see that you'll progress. Even if you're, not super healthy right now, right? You can grab it with both hands. I don't necessarily need that so much, but I need other variations. But that's a basic way of doing it, right? Come to the top of the mat one more time. Take the arms up overhead. Fold forward into a forward fold. Step the left foot back into a lunge. Just to move around a little bit. Take the right arm up to the ceiling. Right, now I'm going to try to bring my right elbow to a block or the floor, right? And then taking the right arm up. Then bringing it down again. And then taking it up. Bring the right hand down and then step the left foot forward. And then step the right foot back. So my left arm is going to go up in space. This could be the variation, right? You don't have to bring the elbow down. Bringing it down. And then taking it up. And again, my Wednesday class is much easier than this. So I always, that's what I design that class is so that some people have some outlet. Bring the left elbow down. So if you're like, wow, this is so difficult, because it could be, know that there's other easier forms, right? Turning my upper body to left arm, left hand, and then bringing that hand down. You're gonna step the right foot forward, and with the right foot forward, just take the hands to the left side, take the hands to the right, separate the feet a little bit wider than, say, the shoulders, grab the elbows, bend the knees, squat again. When you're squatting, right, keep the hips up from time to time. You're sitting low into a squat. Great, great. To support a knee, I could have my left hand to support my right knee. Say you have a problematic right knee, use your left hand to support that knee. Say you have two knees, right, that are problematic. Take both right hand underneath the left knee, and the hand will fill the gap and take the pressure off the knee. It's a really easy way. You could use hand towels, but it's a very good way to get the knee to fold better. Right, fold forward into a forward bend, and then step back into a plank or an all four position. All right, push through the fingertips. This is a position that you don't ever want to just cruise in, right? Because your hands will start to hurt or your wrists will start to hurt. So you really want to work at it. Then go back up into a down dog. And then, I get people and they're like, oh, I just came to yoga because I just want to relax. Then, don't. Active poses, you really want to be attentive, right? Just like lifting weights or running. Swing forward and through into an up dog. Move yourself forward and through. And then pull back up into a down dog. And then come down onto your knees. And then when you come down on your knees, I'm going to sit back on the toes if I can. I'm going to tuck the toes. Sit back on the heels. A couple deep breaths here. Take the arms into a cactus position. That's not too bad. Know that you could be on your hands and your knees. So if this was really hard on the knee, hard on the feet, just do it for a couple seconds and sit back. You could sit back like where the feet are flat. That's good. But when the toes are tucked, really good in separating the toes, the bones. Will help with the way that you stand, you walk. And I'm going to come off the toes, and then when I come off the toes, I'm going to bring the hands down, lift back up into a plank, reach back to the heels of the feet, and then go back up into a down dog. Pull all the way back up into a down dog. Back with the hips. Come forward, come through into an up dog. And then back up into a down dog. Right? And then come down onto your hands and your knees. Now, to get to the floor, this can be tricky for people. You can obviously come down to the elbows, but let's say you're getting stronger. You can have a progression is nice, is having the knees in the floor, having a straight line from your knees to your hips to your shoulders. And then when you come down, I say this often, is that I could use no strength to get all the way to the floor, like absolutely nothing. I could collapse. But if you wanting to get stronger, you want to resist the floor, and it will be difficult and it might not look good, right? But then over time, you can really slow it down and then get yourself all the way down and then come up into a Sphinx pose. And then in Sphinx, my elbows are underneath my shoulders. So I'm going to do a variation of some mobility work for the shoulder. I'm going to take my left arm forward in space and then take it out to the left. Then once I get to my shoulder, I'm going to turn my thumb down, take the arm back. It doesn't have to be all the way. It could be back behind you. Right? You could bring it forward, thumb could be down. Then you take it, thumb up, and you bring it down. I'm going to go over to the other side. I'm doing it really slow. If you're doing it maybe faster, then you could do more repetitions. So I'm going to bring it out to the side. Then as I get to my shoulder, then I'm going to rotate the thumb down, take it back, and then bring it forward. Turn the thumb up, bring it forward. And try to get the arm to be a little bit higher than the shoulder as you keep your hips down. And then bring the right arm down. So something I'll add in terms of stretching out the shoulders If you have 2 blocks, it works better. If you only have 1, you could certainly do it. But I'm gonna get my elbows on top of the blocks. I'm gonna start on the 2nd level. You could certainly be higher. And then once I get onto the blocks with my elbows, just be careful if you have foam blocks, squishy blocks, you know, so you don't fall out of this. Separate it enough so that your head can fit down in between the blocks, right? Then I'm going to take the elbows onto the blocks and then just let my head move down. And say your head's not into the floor, get something to support your head so that it's not strained too much. But just let the chest move to the floor, and then every few seconds try to keep the ribs away from the floor, like bring them in. Now think that you're in your home, you got your kitchen countertop, put a towel over that and bring your elbows into that, and then walk back to a 90-degree angle. That's so good for your shoulders. Really, really good for your shoulders. So when our arms are like this, shoulders are rotating out, and that's ultimately what we need. Now, if you don't feel much of a stretch, move back a little bit with your hips and feet and legs, and then you'll get a little bit more exposure to the shoulders. Take 5 deep breaths here. Really, really great. And you could use your sofa. You know, you just, if you're on, the reason I didn't do it on my knees is one, I don't have a chair today. Just I didn't bring one down. But it's a very, very good stretch for the shoulders, for the armpits. So you can't be in an overhead position. This is really, really great for that. So take 2 deep breaths. Head is down into something. And again, the arms could be higher. You really don't need a lot of height, to be honest. Like, there's flashier variations of this, but this is enough. I mean, this is, 2nd block is higher than your shoulder, and that's all you really need it to be. And then you'll notice in taking the arms overhead, it's going to be easier for you. So bring your arms off the blocks. Just careful with that. Come up into Sphinx pose. And then in Sphinx, look over the left shoulder. Look over the right. Bring it center. Stay low, right, in Sphinx, but you'll notice Sphinx is easier. Have your hands underneath you. Lift up into a low cobra or a high cobra. Come up. And you want the weight down. You want the weight in the pelvis. You want, your glutes to be active. And especially if you have back pain, try to use a little bit more effort there, and that'll help. And then come back up into a down dog. So lift up and back into a down dog. Pull back through the thighs. Pull back through the hips. Right? And then walk the feet in. As you walk in, I'm going to do 1 standing forward bend. So bring the feet together, and with the feet together, step the left foot over the right foot if you can. So really good for the hips, the hamstrings. Can be too much for your back. So if you're like, wow, this is tight, I just lift the heel up. And that's going to make it easier for you. And then if I can get the heel down, not that it's better, just more leverage. So you can, I like a more passive way in this variation. You certainly could be pulling on your legs if that's what you need. Right, take 3 deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. Right, then step the left foot next to the right. Cross the right foot over the left foot. You could also step the left foot behind the right foot, and then it's the same way. Whichever leg is behind is really the focal point. But as you do this, especially if you have better than average flexibility, you'll notice that it's other areas that you're adjusting. So take 5 full breaths. Yoga, like classic yoga, is more internal. So you're stimulating your pelvic floor, you're stimulating your diaphragm. You're doing that in any form of exercise. But then if you want to make it more mental than physical, you can think of these things as you're practicing, and that's the difference between classic yoga and just exercising. Not that exercising is bad. Obviously, it's very good. So bring the pubic bone in between the thighs. Expose your back. That's one of the many reasons it's different. You know, you could get a whole hours and hours and hours of philosophy, you know, which makes yoga different, right? Bring the weight into the hands, unstack the feet, and then come back down into a seated position. And then in a seated position, have your legs bent, knees are bent. Have a block close to you. And then with your knees bent, take your right foot underneath your left foot. Step your left foot over your right knee. It could be on the inside. I use this a lot in this class. I find it very valuable. You know, last week I did pigeon. I'm not doing that today. This will lead to pigeon eventually. You can take the right arm around the leg. And with the right arm around the leg, not that you have to get as low as I am with my right arm, but if I'm up higher, it stretches out the rotators of the hip. But if I'm lower, it's more leverage. And if you're more of a yoga person, like you take yoga very frequently, you've taken it for years, you might actually not need this as much. You know, some of the tension that you hold in your hips is actually good for you, right? If you know, hypermobility is a real thing, and it's something that you don't want to, you know, I know a lot of yogis and they have problems going upstairs, sleeping, you know, and I feel for them. So you don't have to have those same kind of experiences, especially with pain. It's just like if you ran a lot in your life, or you cycled a lot in your life, or you still do, probably need quite a lot of this, right? Bring yourself up if you're done twisting or adjusting the hip, and then take the block behind you, sit nice and tall, nice and upright. This is a really difficult position for you. You could sit on a higher surface, right? I'm gonna take the left hand back further behind me, and moving the block away, I want it to be enough to expose my shoulders and my chest. So when I'm twisting you in the lunge, or I think last week, or you know, I've done it before, is twisting in a squat. Very difficult to do for some people. This will help make it easier. This is much easier than that. Not that one is better than the other. So lift up away from the hips and take 2 breaths here. Then you can turn forward, you can release the arm and release the leg, and then just come back to an easy squat. Have the left foot underneath the right knee, take the left foot over the left knee, so right is over left. Then take the left arm around the right leg, and then just drop through the shoulder. So dropping through the shoulder and adjusting through the hip, and as you adjust through the hip, right, it's, you know, more of your back as well is stretching, is exposing itself. And support the head. You know, support the head on the knee if you're high. If you're low, lower. You know, get creative with the block. You know, you don't really need your right arm, so that could help support the head too. So my right hand is underneath my head. Right, all this great opening of the shoulders into the back, outside of the hips. So stay like this. If you need more of this, bring yourself up, and as your twists improve, try to keep your armpit and your knee closer together, and then move the right hand back behind you. Get nice and tall through the upper body, right? Breathe in, breathe out, and as you're breathing, right, your body's adjusting yourself. We can take the block out further, or even have it on a chair, right, or a bar, something like that. But then as you move it further and further away, you'll get more and more space between the shoulders. So it's, you know, it's good exposure through the hip. But you want to sit upright, especially when your spirits are low, right? Get yourself in a better place mentally, and that'll get you through the day. And then, you know, just life gets easier with that, right? Keep lifting up through the upper body. Turn forward, and you can release that. And then undo the legs. Have, what's really nice, and I don't have this today, is see how I have my blocks on the second level? If I had a second set of blocks or even a bolster, really, really good for your knees, very, very good for your lower back. It's just gonna pull you apart differently. So your hands could be on you, arms could be on beside you or on you, and then just think that I'm pulling more weight into the lower body. And when you're on your back like this, which is a very basic position for, I wouldn't say most people, but a lot of people, right? It's really, really good to open up the front of the body. So again, at the end of the day, so you don't have the energy to practice, do this pose or fish pose or bridge pose, and you'll be better off structurally, right? Which will help you again in a number of facets. So relax your face, relax your jaw, your eyes, your forehead, your scalp. If you're a person that has more time to lie down, right, obviously take it, so important. But if you're ready to move again, you can wiggle your fingers, your toes, you can reawaken yourself. You could roll over to one side, you could sit up nice and tall. I really, believe in sitting on a higher surface, especially for breath work and meditation. And if you're a person that's really compromised with posture, it's great to sit in a chair. It's good to do practice on your back, right? So you could have the palms face up. You could slide the hand back. You could bring the hands together if you'd like. It's just a gesture of thanks. I hope you had a great class today. Send me comments and questions. I'd love to hear from you. And I really greatly appreciate the support. So thank you for all the donations. Have a beautiful day. And hopefully I'll see you in class soon. Namaste.